what's happening on what we're calling Draft-a-Palooza Friday here on the Hoffman Show. Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. The reason I'm calling it Draft-a-Palooza Friday is because we are going to touch on elements of the NFL draft, the NBA draft, and the WNBA draft all in the show. In fact, we're going to touch on all of them in both halves of the show. We have some playoff talk as well. We'll preview the NBA playoffs, make our predictions coming up at 5:30. We'll hit the Eastern Conference, 5:45. Actually, 5:45 the East, 5:30 the West. In between now and then, Zach Harper will join us at 5 o'clock to fix the NBA's draft lottery. I think that he and I can do it because it is fundamentally broken. We will do that at 5 o'clock. We have a great chat with Mike Vorkunov of The Athletic on a huge sports gambling ongoing story. It's the one that involves Jonte Porter, the now suspended former Raptor who has been banned from the NBA. He had more details in his reporting on that. And then we are going to round out WNBA Draft Week by letting you hear a conversation with Jamila Wideman, the general manager of the Mystics, and live at 4:30. Lindsay Gottlieb completes our first-round coaches. We got them all. We got every single one of them. Anthony, round of applause for you, sir, for some excellent producing. We got Kenny Brooks on Tuesday to talk about Georgia Amore. We got Neil Ivey on Wednesday to talk about Sonia Citron. And today we have Lindsay Gottlieb from the University of Southern California to talk about the Mystics' 4th overall pick, Kiki Iriafen. So we did it. We got them all. Anthony, excellent work out of you. Are you prepared to do the same exact thing next week with NFL draft picks?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, good, because that's your job. And you're doing a great job. So that's not said in a threatening manner. That's said in an exciting manner because, holy cow, we're doing it. Today on the show, though, we are going to start with some thoughts on the NFL draft. And their thoughts are going to come from Matt Miller, the ESPN NFL analyst who has joined us before. Matt and I had our annual sit-down when I was in Indianapolis for the Combine. And yesterday, or Wednesday, I should say, he phoned into the Grant and Danny program across the hall at 106.7 The Fan and had some interesting thoughts on the idea that the Commanders will be taking an edge in this draft. There's one small problem with that, according to Matt Miller.
I think what will be interesting to see is how wiped out the board is at defensive end, especially because you have so many teams in the middle of the first round with a clear-cut need edge: Atlanta, Arizona, Cincinnati, and they pick back to back to back. You have the Chargers at 22. They could definitely take an edge rusher. The Ravens at 27, the Lions at 28. So there's like 6 teams between pick 15 and we're Washington at 29 that could take edge rushers. So will be like, if you want to sit there as a fan on Thursday night, print out my rankings if you want and cross off those edge rushers, because we can all want an edge to be there at 29. There might not be, because that run could absolutely happen.
It could. And so let's go through that exercise actually real quick. I was going to do this with, by the way, Anthony, I got to say real quick as I pull up Matt Miller's rankings, because he's the one who said this. It feels only right that we use his rankings, not somebody else's. But I did get a hard copy of The Beast. I don't know if you saw this on my Instagram yesterday.
I did. I think Rachel recorded you opening the package.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. I don't think I posted the picture on my Hoffman Sports Instagram. You saw it on my personal Instagram. Yeah, Rachel, my dear wife and I are having very different weeks at work, to say the least. But I got my hard copy of The Beast, and I'm pretty pumped about it. It is thick. She's thick with about 3 C's, Anthony. That Beast draft guide.
It looked like it was.
Yeah. Matt Miller, though, has his top 600 prospects on ESPN.com. And so if we just control F edge here, let's play a game, Anthony. Will this player be available for Washington at 29? Ready to play the game?
Yep.
And by the way, we kind of played this game yesterday, because we did a mock draft, and I made sure that we were going to have this conundrum, and we still did get an edge at 29. But Abdul Carter,
he will not be available.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's going to be available. He is the number 1 overall player on Matt Miller's board. Next up, we have Jalen Walker, number 5 player on Matt Miller's board. and he's an edge out of Georgia.
He will not be available.
Very, very unlikely. I will say he might be available later than people think. He is very high on Matt's board. He's very high on Dane's board. He's very high on a lot of boards. But he's a very particular kind of player. And I don't like, all it takes is one. If Carolina loves him at 8, then like, okay, fine, he's done. If Arizona at 16 loves him, then okay, it's done. Because he's a bit of a different, like he's not a full, complete player in the way that Abdul Carter is, or even some of these other guys that just don't have the upside. He's one worth watching, but he very likely is not going to be available at 29. Okay. Mike Green, edge, Marshall.
Possibly. I would say maybe there's a 40-50% chance.
Here's what I would say. If he's available at 29, you don't want him. Because if he's as good as he is and he falls that far, he's falling for reasons that he should be completely off your board from a character standpoint and / a things he's done standpoint. Again, Green has been alleged of sexual assault twice. Teams are doing their investigation. Their teams are doing their homework. The results of that work will be what it will be. But if everyone's like, we're not touching that, then you should not be the team that's like, it's fine with us. No good on Mike Green if he's available. All right, next up, 27th player on Matt Miller's board, Shamar Stewart.
I would probably say there's a 50-60% chance he's available just because of the raw talent and the lack thereof production.
The lack of production is what's going to make him available. And at 29, again, because they don't make dudes that are 6'5", 270 that run 4.5 and jump 40 inches and have an 11-foot broad jump. Like, this dude, as an athlete, is rare. And if he's available at 29, it might be worth it. But probably not going to be available. Mykel Williams, edge at Georgia. Slightly downsized version of Shamar Stewart with more production. 6'5", 260. Definitely the production wasn't as good in 2024 because he had an ankle issue, but it looked way more explosive on the 23 tape.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance. Maybe 60.
He's gone. That dude's not making it. But he is 28th player on Matt Miller's board.
Uh-oh.
Ezra Raku, he's 36th on Matt Miller's board.
This is your guy, Craig. I think there's a 67. I think there's maybe a 70%, 75% chance he's available.
The closer we've gotten, the less available I think he's going to be.
Oh.
I just think some team's going to be like, why wouldn't we take the guy that had 16 and a half sacks? And that guy might be the guy that recruited him to Boston College, which is Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hathaway.
Mm-hmm.
Worth saying. He finished second in FBS in sacks. Now you get into the guys that I think are going to be available. Landon Jackson, edge, Arkansas.
Available.
But do you want him at 29? Like, he's to explain the difference in a guy, because like I can make a case, or I can start talking about him in a way that will make you go, yeah, sick, sign me up. Dude plays his absolute face off. He is like a command. Like when 3 months ago, when Logan started watching guys, and I was like, who's got the commander tag for you? Landon Jackson might have been the first guy that he mentioned. This dude plays so hard. His effort is incredible. He loves football. And he's 6'6", 264. He's got really good measurements in terms of like the 40s and the jumps. And like, dude's a freak athlete. So you're like, well, what's the problem? He's stiff as a pass rusher. He doesn't have great production. He just doesn't have a lot of pass, like, despite the athleticism, which can help him play the run and all that kind of stuff, he doesn't have the pass rush juice to be a first-round pick. And so that's why he's available. Next up, Oladejo, Femi Oladejo. He's a guy that has all of a sudden been pushed up lists, but is probably not a first-rounder. The only other two guys that I think are worth mentioning these guys are outside of Matt Miller's top 50. James Pierce Jr., the edge out of Tennessee, he's got him at 54. So that's really low for Pierce as a player based off the tape. And again, there's the character questions. We had the great conversation with Jeremy Green yesterday about this, but it's going to depend on whether they think that he's just immature or whether there's more there to be worried about of whether or not he's a guy that they would take as a commander. I also will say this, even if there's questions about it, the more I think about it, the less I think that they're going to take him. Because even though Jeremy like opened my eyes to the idea, he's not going to get the commander tag. And there's no way that they're going to take a guy in the first round that doesn't get the commander tag, right? Like that seems the simplest way to explain this.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. But again, like they're going to do their due diligence as far as, figuring out like who this guy is, who he really is. Because again, what's being reported, out there, and then what Jeremy's heard, they're contrasting viewpoints on him. So
yeah, and to be clear, there's no dispute over the facts, right? The dispute is what it means, right? Is this a bad kid who doesn't love football and is in it for the wrong reasons? Or is this an immature kid in a bad program who, when put in better circumstances and allowed to grow a little bit as a person, will be just fine?
Yeah.
And Jeremy's contention is he's not a bad kid. It's a bad situation, which I'm open to. And frankly, like if James Pierce is not a bad kid, and he's 21 years old, like we should be sensitive to that. Like we just chop these kids up like, whatever, they're just characters in a video game. Like these are young men. And I think we can be human about that. And the older all of us get, now that I sit here as a 35-year-old, like I realize just how young 21 is. So I don't want to be insensitive here. And so I very much hope that all of the scuttlebutt winds up being wrong about James Pierce and that he is a good kid and that he grows into a good young man and has a very successful career because he finds a group of people that get the best out of him. I just don't know that if you do the cold, hard analysis, if you're Adam Peters, is that a risk you want to take at 29 when you built your whole program on dudes who are commanders that you're taking in the draft? Because I just don't feel like, even if you feel like he's a little immature, that is like compared to like we want Mikey Sainer still. Like we want Jaden Daniels. That to me is the kind of guy that they go after. The other guy that's worth mentioning, Nick Scorton, Texas A&M. He's the only other guy I've ever seen mocked in the first round that's on this list. Everyone else, you're looking farther down the list. You're looking at guys that are second, third, fourth rounders. So that is the edge class and kind of where it is. Matt also talked to Grant and Danny about the corner class. Could there actually be better options there at 29? You'll hear Matt Miller from ESPN's thoughts next on the Hoffman Show before Lindsay Gottlieb, head coach, USC women's basketball, joins us at 4:30. University of Southern California women's basketball coach Lindsay Gottlieb joins us 4:30. Kiki Iriafen, of course, drafted out of USC with Lindsay from Lindsay's program on Monday by the Mystics. So we'll talk to Lindsay Gottlieb about Kiki Iriafen coming up here in just a little bit. But Anthony, we were just talking about how the edge class might not work out in the Commanders' favor. They could wind up with no one left to take at 29 at probably their most I won't say their most dire, but their most pressing position of need. I will say we got a comment. I was rolling through the comments before the show. I guess I'll tell myself I was preparing for next week's edition of Never Read the Comments, and not that I'm a sick individual. But we got a comment on yesterday's show on the Team 980 page that was basically like, there's so many great wide receivers in the division. What is this obsession with edge? And I just would remind this person that if the quarterback can't get the ball to a receiver because he's under pressure or forces a bad throw because he's under pressure, those receivers become a lot less effective. And to an extent, the same can be said about a corner in reverse. Like if there's coverage, it makes your pass rush better. But typically, the front line affects the back end more than the back end affects the front line because the quarterback still got to see it. And so if you bust coverage and most fans never know it because there's a sack or a pressure, and maybe there's a wide open dude down the left sideline, but the quarterback gets flushed to the right. It doesn't even have to be a sack. Like you can make up or make a quarterback throw something crazy back across the field, which gives time to get back. So that's why the edge is so important. One, obviously they need a dude. They need a premier edge rusher. They don't have pass rush juice right now in the way that you would want. But also it helps everybody else in a way that doesn't necessarily go back in reverse the other way. There's some impact there, but not as much as the edge to corner direction. And Matt said we might run out of edges because there's a run there in the middle. The Falcons at 15, the Cardinals at 16, the Bengals at 17, the Seahawks at 18. Anthony, what happened in our mock draft yesterday when we got to those picks?
It's funny you asked that, Craig, because, again, there was exactly a run on the edge, and it actually started before the Falcons. It started with the coach selecting Donovan Azruaku, and then the Falcons, Jalen Walker, Cardinals, Walter Nolan, Bengals, Michael Williams, Seahawks, Mike Green. So this could, very well happen because we did this, but it could also not happen. In our first mock, we only had one edge taken between those picks, so who knows how this is going to play out.
It's the beauty of the draft. Take one turn, because the thing, the first one goes and everybody panics.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, here we go. And so we could see that go down. So if all of a sudden the Commanders are stuck with corner at 29, what does Matt Miller, again, ESPN NFL draft analyst, who's on with Grant and Danny on Wednesday, think that the Commanders could be choosing from?
Yeah, I think John A. Barron will be gone from Texas. I think Will Johnson from Michigan will be gone, despite the fact that he didn't have a good pre-draft process. His tape's just too good. The interesting ones would be Trey Amos from Ole Miss and Max Hairston from Kentucky. And they're very different guys. Amos is 6'1", 200 pounds. He lives at the line of scrimmage. Hairston's, 5'10", 180 pounds. He's a really good slot corner. And his foot speed and quickness are crazy, crazy good. His Senior Bowl combine tape are fantastic in that area. So you could get a corner. You're kind of almost, I think those two are the realistic ones with round one grades who could be there. And they're very different. I would think Hairston would be almost a little bit redundant with Mikey Singer still there. But if you wanted to, I think you can find a way to get them both on the field if that's the situation you're in.
This is going to sound like I'm saying something dirty, Anthony, but I'm not. There's an O in the middle of this word. When we had Jeremy Green on yesterday talking about this group of corners on Take Command, he said this is the slottiest group of corners that he ever did see. The slottiest people. As in, there's a ton of slot corners in this class, and there is just not a lot of dudes who play outside. And that becomes interesting later when you've got a million slot corners that you could choose from, or a very select number of guys who can genuinely play outside. this is interesting because I think Washington has come around to the fact that maybe Mike Sanderson is an outside guy. But if they want to get him back inside, Trey Amos is your guy there. Maybe Savon Ravel, but probably Trey Amos. And then there's a kid that we wound up taking in, I think it was the 4th round in our mock, the Take Command mock. But I know a lot of the draft Knicks love. Noah Williams out of Cal, like rangy, got length, scrappy as hell. Like plays his face, like definitely could get the commander tag if the off the field. I don't know anything about him off the field, but like his on-field play style, very commandery. Will come like he'll get blocked in the run game because he's a corner and every corner gets blocked, but he's gonna be trying. He will get caught trying in a way that, like, I don't know, sorry to pick on you, old friend, but Emmanuel Forbes would not necessarily get caught trying. And so there's a chance you could attack that later in the draft, but I do wonder how the class, like, I feel more comfortable taking a Trey Amos at 35, 36 than I do at 29. Like, let's see if we can trade back. But, you know, the trade back thing is just, it's going to take, I think, a quarterback falling or a quarterback needy team wanting the 5th-year option or someone else falling that the Commanders don't want. Somebody like a Walter Nolan, who some teams are going to have a really high grade on. They're like, man, we want the 5th-year option on that. D tackles are getting expensive for the Commanders to have that as an option, to trade back. It takes 2 to tango. And this is a class that is very trade back friendly, which means it's not very trade up friendly. Darn.
Yeah.
Darn. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, we continue our coverage of the 2025 WNBA draft. We started Monday by previewing the draft. We were on during the draft. And then as the week has gone on, we have had not 1, not 2, but assuming that this next segment goes as planned, all 3 of the Mystics' first-round picks, college head coaches on the show. Lindsay Gottlieb from USC joins us next. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Of course, we're your home this summer for Mystics basketball. You'll hear Megan McPeak, Christy Winter-Scott on the call all summer long on the simulcast of Monumental Sports Network's coverage. And we've been your home for WNBA draft coverage all week, not only our own breakdowns and analysis, but we have been very lucky, very fortunate to be joined by the college coaches of all three of the Mystics' first-round picks, concluding right now with the head coach of the women's basketball team at the University of Southern California, where, of course, Kiki Iriafen finished her career. It's Lindsay Gottlieb with us here on the Hoffman Show. Coach Gottlieb, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Always excited to talk W, and certainly our girl Kiki.
For sure. It seems like the Mystics got three incredible young women. Got a chance to meet them at the press conference the other day. Kiki, just such a bright, effervescent person. Can you tell us about the first time that you met her and how maybe not much you loved her all those years having to play against her at Stanford before you got her into your program, as lovely as she might be as a person?
Yeah, when I first knew of her, when I first knew her, are kind of two different things. But I remember before I left and went to the Cavs, I had seen, this young, gangly, talented player, and was like, who is that? When she was playing, in club basketball in California, and then I went to the NBA, and she ended up at Stanford. And then fast forward a little bit, and I came back to USC, and I'm like, how are we going to guard this kid? And I would also watch her workout videos over the summer, and just kept seeing her improve and improve. So that was all before I actually knew her. And then when she went into the transfer portal, you nailed it. Beyond her talent, beyond what she can bring to the court, she is magnetic. She is brilliant. She is a terrific, bubbly personality. And I remember, once we got her coming into practice every day, kind of going, dang, I can't believe I only have her for 1 year. And I was like, oh, Lindsay, don't get spoiled. Don't get spoiled. This is better than no years. And that's just kind of how you feel about her, every time you're around her.
It also seems like, both in talking to her on Wednesday and hearing her answer everyone else's questions, but also, this is maybe, I don't want to say a weird thing, but like just a thing that caught my eye and caught my brain is the fashion choice she made on Monday night. Like, there's real depth to her as a person. For those that don't know, the gold dress she wore, designed by a Nigerian designer, of course, Kiki of Nigerian background as well. There's real, beyond the bubbliness, there's real depth to her. When did you maybe realize, or is there a story that you can tell us about when you realize just how much there is to Kiki Iriafen?
Oh, yeah. That you can tell from the first conversation. When she first went in the transfer portal, I called, right away when we were allowed to do so. And she texted me, she said, hey, coach, I'm going to class. Can I call you after? And she graduated from Stanford in 3 years with an engineering degree. Think about that, right? She knew, I think, at some point. It's nuts. It's insane. I think she knew at some point when maybe she had this inkling that she might want to transfer. She was not going to leave there without a degree. And so I thought, planned ahead, thought ahead, graduated in 3 years, and then had an opportunity to do something else with the final year. So from the moment you talked to her, you knew decisions were being made around basketball, because she's a serious student of the game, and, always wanted to be a pro, but also with depth of thought around, many, many things. Her family is really important to her. Her Nigerian culture is really important to her. But yeah, there's a lot of layers to her personality, and that's something you tell from right away when you meet her.
Lindsay Gottlieb, the head coach at USC for their women's basketball program. With us, of course, the Mystics took Kiki Iriafen 4th overall on Monday night. Lindsay had Kiki for her final year in college. And I was really lucky on Monday, Lindsay, to have Christy Winter-Scott, who I'm assuming you know because she called some of the games out there this year. But she was with us all show on Monday, and we were talking about Kiki quite a bit because, all the mock drafts had Kiki and Sonia coming to the Mystics with those 3rd and 4th picks. And one thing that really impressed Christy was her knowledge of the game as a screener and the way she just moves around the court, finds spaces. Can you talk to us a little bit more about who she is as a player and how you were able to use her because of that basketball IQ, maybe in a way that's different than your average college power forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kiki was also really thoughtful in going to the portal. I mentioned, first of all, that she wanted to get that Stanford degree. And then it was not just, let me go anywhere. I think she was thoughtful about taking this year to try to help a team win a national championship, but also getting herself as ready as possible to be a pro. And I think that's not talked about enough. There's a lot to be said for comfort, especially when you're 20, 21 years old. But I think she got out of her comfort zone knowing that, in one year you got to do some different things. And so our system is a little bit more pro style. We try to utilize our bigs, and give them a lot of freedom to read screening angles. Am I rescreening? When am I rolling? When am I kind of touch and go? And in addition, we wanted to make sure that Kiki's perimeter skills were on display. So gave her a lot of opportunity to kind of handle the ball and pick and pop and make decisions. And defensively, let her go out there and guard 1 through 5, do a lot of switching, do different ball screen coverages. So she really was wanting to grow, and say, put me in new spots, let me do new things. And that can be uncomfortable at times, but ultimately I think it made her a better player for us, but also made her, I think, more ready to step into camp. I mean, camp's still going to be an adjustment, and terminology may be different, but I don't think there's a thing that they're going to ask her to do that she is not familiar with now and is not capable of doing. I think she's really bright and also willing to take on a number of different roles on the court.
The basketball nerd in me wants to ask you a side question real quick, so I'm going to take the liberty to do that. You mentioned you spent some time with the Cavs in the NBA, and obviously you're a big fan of the WNBA as well. How have you seen? Let's put the time frame last decade or so. How have you seen the pro game influence the college game schematically? I know back, even farther than that, Gino went to a lot of NBA practices at the, and that was something that he implemented at UConn. There's other coaches that have certainly done it as well. But have you felt like as the popularity of the W has grown and more resources are also thrown into the women's game that you've seen an influx of higher level tactics at the college level?
Yeah, I mean, the thing I think I've seen over the last 7-8 years is just more synergy between the college game and the pro game and between men and women. So, for example, I watch a ton of aces because Becky Hammond, I think, it's interesting for me to see what she uses from her time in the NBA and what she doesn't. For me, coming from the NBA, there's some stuff that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm definitely going to do this, and other stuff that just doesn't work in college, right? Or doesn't exactly translate. And so, I think there's a number of different trends. In some ways, the NBA doesn't really use the traditional back to the basket post player very much.
Right.
And the W still has, because you still had your Greiners and your Sylvia Fowles and your really big players. But even now the W, I think, is getting a little bit more away from that and trying to create more space. So for me, I've tried really to model a lot of the things we do off of the W and some off the NBA. First, because I like it. I think it's, a fun brand of basketball, but also because our players want to be pros. And so if I was running a very systemic pattern that our players only get good at that, it's going to be harder for them to transition to the pros. And so, we try to incorporate, kind of as much as we can that feels more pro style. I think it's faster. Interestingly, not to go run on too long here in our basketball nerdery, but I think women's college basketball is trying to mimic the pros maybe even more. I had one basketball writer, to call me last year and tell me, in talking to a lot of GMs, they in the NBA that they really enjoyed watching our team. Obviously, Juju, is I think anyone enjoys watching her, but more so we're trying to play faster, where there's a lot of college men's basketball where there's a lot of control, and coaches trying to slow things down. And we're more trying to just let them go and make reads. I thought that was an interesting point.
No, I that's certainly my viewing experience. Whatever level I'm at, certainly not your level, certainly not the NBA GM level, but as someone who watches a lot of hoop, I find the women's game on the college level far more entertaining for that exact reason. And I'm like, can we please just at least change the shot clock in the men's game and give it a chance, make them go a little bit faster? But the control in the men's game is it's not great. It's not great. Lindsay Gottlieb's with us here on the Hoffman Show for another minute or two. I got two more questions for you, Lindsay. First, the question, if you will, about Kiki translating to the league is on the defensive side. Everyone's got so much confidence in her offensive skill set. Playing defense in the WNBA is hard as can be for any rookie. So this is not necessarily just a Kiki thing, but how do you think she'll be able to learn and translate and get up to speed on the defensive end for the Mystics starting this summer?
I think she's going to do just fine. I think her IQ is high, her will is high, her athleticism is off the charts. Like you said, for any player, it's now all of a sudden you're guarding a pro on every single possession. It's not somebody in college maybe that you just have a natural ability advantage over all the time. So that will be an adjustment. But there's no doubt in my mind she can guard her position. She can probably guard other positions, switchable. She'll continue to learn, which I think is great. But as far as rookies go, I think her physical capacity and her mental capacity are going to be in the top, 1% of readiness there.
And if she can learn engineering at Stanford, I feel like she can learn defense at WNBA. And she can clearly learn anything.
Yeah, you know what? People sometimes are surprised. Like, pick and roll defenses come harder to some people than engineering. But Kiki's someone who I think has the basketball smarts and the book smarts. So it's a pretty good package. And like you mentioned, I think Mystics fans. I know there's a lot of change, right? For the Mystics, I've known Jamila for a long time. She's awesome. Got some Ivy League, blood there flowing through, your coaching staff, which is great. There's a lot of change, but for certain, I think Kiki is someone that the community will love, that teammates will love, that the coaching staff in the front office. I mean, she's just a high value investment if you're investing in a young player, because I think her upside is huge. And I can't wait to come to DC this summer. I'll probably take my kids, do some monuments and do a Mystics game. And I'm really excited for her, and I'm excited for the organization.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for what they've done, and we hope to see when you're in DC. Okay, well, now we've added one more question. If you've known Jamila a long time, and then I'll get to the final one on Kiki, what was your reaction when she took the GM job? Because that's a name for a lot of us that kind of came out of nowhere. But if you've known her, she's obviously, getting to know her a little bit, she's brilliant. So what was your reaction to her getting that job here in DC? Yeah,
it's not like I text her every day or talk to her every day, so I had no idea she was taking the job. It's not like I had some insider information, but going back to that word I use, synergy, like the fact that the NBA and the WNBA now there's more. I think that's just good for basketball. Like, one time I had a conversation with Adam Silver before there were women in the league, and he's like, if we're not considering women, then we're not considering 50% of the talent pool, right? And so similarly, I would say, now when Mystics ownership want to look for a GM, like, of course you want to consider people who've been in the NBA, male or female, right? And you just got to find the right person. So I was super excited when I saw it. We have a mutual friend. So Sharman Smith, who's the head coach at Cal, was my assistant for a long time, played with Jamila at Stanford. So I've just kind of known her over the years in that capacity. And I too think she's brilliant. I'm glad she's in the W now. I think she'll bring a unique approach. I also knew when I was in the NBA, she worked with our guys, right, in the rookie orientation program. So we had a lot of conversation at that time, and I think she's just someone who is going to be really good and kind of a neat person for Kiki to be around as she develops as a pro and as a young businesswoman too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Last thing for Lindsay Gottlieb, the head coach at the University of Southern California, where, of course, she had Kiki Iriafen this year. Coach, the last two games of your season were obviously incredibly hard after Juju's injury, but we also saw incredible production from Kiki. And, first of all, I have to commend you on not just the grace, but the humanity you handled that situation with. It was really, really commendable and really admirable, I thought, from the outside. But as you're talking to Kiki in those moments, specifically, and knowing that, okay, now when we get on the court, this is going to run through you. You're our star now, and to see how she responded. What were those conversations like? And I like, did it surprise you? I'm guessing not. But what were those conversations like to see how she responded and how did you interact with her in those moments?
Yeah, didn't surprise me at all. And part of that is, and we didn't talk about this earlier in the conversation, I think is really significant in terms of Kiki's growth. She came here knowing we had Juju, right? Like that's a little bit, I think that speaks to what a good pro she's going to be. Like we talked to her about, you're going to be playing in the W with guards, with guards that are pros, with guards that are creative, go off script sometimes. And that's going to be good growth for you too. And I was so impressed. Like, there's this new documentary that's going to be coming out on ESPN that features her and a couple other people. And I was watching her rough cut and really got emotional. There's a moment when we beat UConn at UConn, and there's this really cool moment between Kiki and Juju where she puts her arm around her, and Kiki says, I'm so proud of you, Juju, and I'm just here to, to make your life easier and do this together. I'm just like, what other superstar has the ability to really do that, in real time. So this, when Juju went down, it was devastating for all of us. It was not the first conversation I had with Kiki about, her role and the ability to step into what's ever needed. And so at that point, sure enough, was, everything's going to go through you. And I knew she could handle it. Doesn't mean you have to score 36, which she did in one game, right? It might also be facilitating. It might also be drawing a crowd and kicking it. But I think, you kind of saw the trajectory of the whole year, right? Like there were superstar, performances, but there also just was the steady, I'm going to be here every night doing my job. And I've told her, like, we were good the year before, but she rose us to another stratosphere, and made us true national championship contenders. And it didn't end that way. Obviously, no one would have chosen that injury, but I also think you got to see kind of fully what Kiki was capable of. And she's just going to be a terrific pro. She really is.
We can't wait to see it here in D.C. And Lindsay, hopefully we'll see you this summer. We're at Mystics Games ourselves quite a bit, so have fun with the kids on the vacation, and then we'll see you down at what they're calling Care First Arena now.
Okay, sounds great. Nice to talk to you.
You as well. Thanks so much. Lindsay Gottlieb with us here on the Hoffman Show. Head coach, USC women's basketball. We'll wrap up the hour before we're going to embark on an adventure at 5 o'clock. We're going to welcome in our friend Zach Harper from The Athletic, just brilliant basketball writer, podcaster, etc. And we're going to fix the NBA draft lottery because it's fundamentally broken. I don't know that we're going to fix it before the Wizards are in it next month, but we're going to fix it in the long term. But we'll wrap up the hour next year on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. The NBA draft lottery is fundamentally broken. It doesn't accomplish anything that it's supposed to, and it's ruining the sport. That might be a slight over-exaggeration, but only because it's one of the things that's ruining the sport. Luckily, Zach Harper from The Athletic is going to help us solve all of the NBA's problems coming up at 5 o'clock. Looking forward to that conversation. But, Anthony, just quickly to react to the conversation we just had with Lindsay Gottlieb, the head coach at the University of Southern California, of course, head coach of their women's basketball program, where she coached Kiki Iriafen. Every conversation I have about the draftees that we just had, and every conversation, frankly, with them, I am just so pumped. And I know that eventually there will be the reality of the basketball. This is a young team in a hard league full of really good teams. And there's going to be some nights where the basketball probably ain't super pretty this year. Then again, if they stay healthy, they're 1,000% of the mix to make the playoffs. I mean, if they can get Shakira Austin and Brittany Sykes on the court, that should be enough to push them towards the playoffs. Nevertheless, the growth that we expect to see from Aaliyah Edwards in year 2, what Stephanie Dolson can still do is a big 3-point shooter, all that kind of stuff. But just, I think in sports, the more we get to know the athletes, the more we care about who they are as people. Like when social media hadn't been invented, and really your only access to the athlete person was like if your local paper wrote a feature story or a magazine wrote a feature story. It was a lot easier to separate the art from the artist, I feel like. And I think a lot of older fans still feel that way, where they're maybe not as locked in on social media, and it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I don't care about who that person is. I just want them to play well for me on Sundays, or whatever day of the week your favorite sport is. But I think for fans that are a little bit younger, or if people that are on social media, like, it's way more fun to root for good people. And what a trio they got on Monday. Like, and also, how lucky are we that these coaches are also super dynamic. Kenny was great. Kenny Brooks, Neil Ivey, just dynamic. And, Lindsay Gottlieb's like one of the smartest people in basketball. And we got to talk to all three this week. So I genuinely, Anthony, great. Anthony booked all those. Great job, dude. Excellent work, and thank you, because that was a lot of fun for me. And I got to interview all those people about all the good people.
No, it definitely was a lot of fun. Also, just good to get a behind the scenes look at who we got here, and to speak to getting to understand them off the court, because we're not there with them. Like even when we get their TikToks, even when they they have their IG reels. That we get to see, like, I think fans from a fan perspective, we enjoy those kinds of things because, again, we're seeing them outside of, like, their craft, outside of work, and they get to show off their personality. So,
for sure,
partner that with, the character that they have, that, the coaches told us about them this week, is just, it's exciting to have those kinds of people here in the nation's capital putting on for our city.
For sure. And human beings are dynamic. Like, human beings contain multitudes, at least the fun ones. And, whether it's the orange carpet show out that we saw from Sonia Citron and frankly from Kiki and from Georgia on Monday, or Jaden's draft fit from last year, showing like this is a guy that we know is incredibly blue collar in his work ethic, very just like nose to the grindstone, gets up at the same time every single day, does the same thing, very routine oriented. But then for him to be able to show out a little bit at the draft, get off his fits, and Mikey Sane, we're still getting to see him. Like, we get to know these guys and these women off the field and get to see some of the dynamic nature of their personality. It's fun getting to hear. I'll listen to Terry McLaurin talk about pretty much anything. Like, he's a smart, thoughtful dude. And like, he did the Pivot Pod a couple years ago, and there was a bunch of stuff that he talked about that was really deep. And I care about his opinion on that stuff because I think he's a smart, thoughtful person. And so, young or older, Terry's all of a sudden older. When the hell did that happen? All across the teams across town. It's been really fun to, and credit. Frankly, all this stuff is on some level manicured if it's coming from the team. That's the nature of it. It's PR. It's not journalism. But they are getting a ton of access. And I think we're getting to see even just like some of the goofy stuff that we get to see. How many times in Real Things do we do the whiteboard questions from the Commanders, for instance? Or, getting to talk to Jordan Poole about the French takeover of the Wizards. The hell of a lot of wee up in here. So we've had some good ones on the show for sure, and I really enjoyed those conversations this week, and I'm very excited to get to Media Day for the Mystics specifically here Media Day is April 28th. Obviously, that day is the Monday after the NFL Draft. We'll be talking pure NFL Draft on the show, but we will share a bunch of the interviews between Media Day and the start of the WNBA season, and we will put all of them on our YouTube page and in our podcast feed as well. So make sure that you are subscribed for the Mystic stuff. You can go to the Team 980 and also at Hoffman W Sports for all of the women's sports content. Spirit, by the way, have a huge match this weekend. Previewed it earlier today on that YouTube page with my guy Andre Carlisle as part of the Woso show. But coming up next, we're going NBA. We're all over the place today, but we're calling today Anthony's show. The title of today's show, Draft-a-Palooza Friday. We did some NFL draft off the top. We kind of just did some WNBA draft. The NBA draft, and specifically the lottery, is the next one on the schedule after the NFL. So why don't we fix it? Because it sucks. Zach Harper from The Athletic is going to join us to help us do just that next. Coming up in 30 minutes, we give our predictions and previews for the teams still playing basketball. Those are the playoff ones. They start tomorrow. Of course, there's a large group of teams that will not make the playoffs, and those teams are going in to the NBA draft lottery, which stinks. So I think it's about time that we try and fix it with a little help from one of our friends. You have been working on your big board, and
someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not my beat.
We are joined by Zach Harper of The Athletic because I saw an Instagram video from you the other day, Zach, where you were trying to fix the NBA.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not my beat.
We are joined by Zach Harper of The Athletic because I saw an Instagram video from you the other day, Zach, where you were trying to fix the NBA's draft lottery, and that seemed relevant to the Washington Wizards fans in our audience.
Sure.
And so the headline of this segment is, can we fix the NBA draft lottery in less than 30 minutes? Do you think we can do it, Zach?
Absolutely. I think it's a super easy fix.
All right. Well, let's start there then. What is your fix? And then we can go in reverse and talk about the problems. But let's talk about solutions first, since you already have them.
Yeah, I unweigh the lottery. That's all you need to do. Just unweigh the lottery. You miss the playoffs, you got a 1 in 14 chance. I don't think there are any real problems in this, like actual problems. There are theories, there are hypotheticals, but I don't understand why this went away. This used to be the system, and then we started having to like hold franchises' hands to make them better and everything. Like, I just think we can be realists. Like, let's just unweigh the lottery. You miss the playoffs, 1 in 14.
Okay, done. All right, we did it. Everybody, that's Zach Harper.
That's it.
We'll be right back.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
No, so let's talk through why we got here, which is essentially that in American sports, we believe in this competitive balance thing. In the country that screams about how we shouldn't give out participation trophies, we have the best competitive balance rules in the world. I will say it makes the NFL great. Like, I don't actually think competitive balance rules are bad. It's a league in the NFL that's designed to go 8-8.
Sure.
And every single year, unless you have one of the best quarterbacks or terrible injuries, most teams finish right around there. Yeah. The NBA tries this. It's so hard because there's 5 dudes on the floor per team at once. And if one of them is, say, LeBron James, that team's just going to win a lot more. And thus, you have this world where everyone is trying to get their own LeBron James, their own Steph Curry, their own Victor Wembanyama. And I guess it starts with the fact that we think the teams that are farthest away, the teams that finish worst, deserve the best chance at that. Why do you think that is a stupid idea?
I think parity sucks in the NBA. I think parity is for losers. Like, I think it works in the NFL. Like, I'm with you. Like, I think competitive balance in the NFL works. I think it's a smart idea. I think it drives that league because of the way the system is, the way the schedule is, the amount of games. I think it is really smart. 82 games in basketball, a bunch of 41 and 41 teams is not good. It's historically not good for business. We see the league thrive at its best when there are dynasties to topple. We love watching a dynasty get built, and then we love watching it get torn down. Like, that is just historically the Celtics, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Bulls, the Lakers, the Spurs, the Warriors. Like, this is when the league is at its best historically. Everyone pines for, how great the 80s and 90s were when it was the Celtics and Lakers and the Bulls doing their thing. And then we cry about, oh, the Warriors are too good and they've broken basketball. Like, what do you want? Like, it's so stupid to me that we have forgotten what makes the NBA great. And so when we get into this whole participation trophy thing with trying to help teams, like that, it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard to build. You should hire competent people. You should run your team. Like, I know that, like, look, it's not my money. It's not my team, but I truly believe like the owner's job is to sign the check. Hire the basketball people to do the basketball things and sign the checks. You want a perfect example of it? Look at Sacramento. Vivek Ranadive like keeps interfering every year and a half, firing a coach like every year and a half to 2 years, and that team has had like one good year in 18 years. And they are like we thought they were no longer a joke, and look at where they are again. They're a joke again. Like, not as bad as they were, but no one's going to take them seriously as they keep cycling through. And we've got these franchises that keep going through this The owner's job is to sign the checks, let the basketball people do the basketball stuff. And it's supposed to be hard. Like, I don't think you should get extra points because you decided to lose more games. And if we're saying the last month and a half to 2 months of a season are unwatchable and things that fans should not pay to go see because the product is so bad, then why are we incentivizing that? Like, that's my issue with it is, okay, then we need to find a way to eliminate it, and it doesn't need to be complicated.
I will take it an even step further. Zach Harper from The Athletic is with us here on the Hoffman Show. The line of the social video that I saw from you that I enjoyed the most was basically like, but what about the bad teams? And I can't say exactly what you said because that was a social video and this is the radio. But the radio version is screw them. And I actually think it actually is more than just screw them. Or in some ways it's less than that. I think what the current system does is invites the kind of mediocrity that we're trying to avoid. That Absolutely. If you get one good player, and this is why I very much actually appreciate, I know the Wizards nationally are still seen as a laughingstock. I believe in what they're doing. Not saying it's going to work. Those are two different things because there's luck involved, which gets us back to this whole silly lottery system in the first place. But like the Wizards are trying to make sure they don't win too many games while also trying to find really young players that can play because they need talent. They're trying to develop them. And they understand, like, if we're not bad, like really bad record-wise for multiple years, we're not going to accumulate the enough talent to be good. Right. Oklahoma City was able to do that via trades with getting Shea. They obviously are bad for a couple of years. They get Chet. And it's like, and they hit a couple of those, 7-8 level picks, multiple guys named Jalen Williams. And all of a sudden they've got a juggernaut. Yeah. And what happens to a lot of teams is they get one guy and then they get stuck in the middle because they're too good to be bad enough to get more good talent. And I actually think either unweighting the lottery or you even proposed, I think, in there, reverse weighting the lottery. I've thought about, like, what if you had a pyramid system where like the worst team or the worst place to be is 8th. So if you're getting bad near the end, you can either try to go up and make the playoffs, and if you miss, oh well, okay, we have a soft landing, or okay, we'll tank it because all our dudes are hurt, and maybe we'll play a bunch of G League guys anyway, and that's already happening, but it's less teams doing that. But that if you incentivize, can we get to that point where we're on the verge of being good? That is in many ways the worst place to be in the NBA. But if we can incentivize teams to go on the ascent and go on the journey, I think that is actually the better way to avoid the problem with the dynasty here, dynasty there bit is the dynasties always wind up in like 3 cities. And I think the NBA and the league office would be like, we need to give every fan base hope that they can be good. I think unweighting the lottery or reverse weighting the lottery or some kind of incentive to actually aim towards the playoffs is the way to do that, not the current system.
Yeah, the current system is garbage. Like, because you get into the situation where, all right, Victor Wembanyama is going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Of course, teams are going to lose. Look at him. Like, it's a 7'5" guy who handles the ball like a guard. Like, of course you're going to lose his. I was advocating, like, you should tank for this guy. I thought Utah not tanking for them was the dumb. Like, great.
And boy, did they make up for it this year.
Good luck with your pride. Congratulations. You're idiots. Like, that's so dumb. Like, and I'm with you. Like, I actually, look, I've made a lot of Wizards jokes over the years. Like, a lot of Wizards jokes. This year, I was legitimately, I think people thought I was being tongue in cheek. I legitimately enjoyed them. Like, a lot of young guys. It took Sarr a little bit to get going, but him, Bub, Keyshawn George, throwing
bringing AJ Johnson in the middle of the year,
bringing in AJ Johnson in, even Kispert to a certain degree. Like
Champagny goes from a G League guy who's doing 20 and 14 every other night. Like, what are we doing?
Great. I mean, Shaedon Sharp did murder him with a dunk, but before that, like, he did really well. I was a big Coulibaly guy. Like, he was one of my favorite prospects in that draft because as I was scouting Wemby, I would like all these highlights. I'm like, this Coulibaly guy can play. Like, he's pretty good. Yeah. And so, like, there's a way to play the young guys that is development, right? And I thought they did a great job of doing that. And yes, there were blowouts, but there were also some really competitive moments. I'm for that. I'm not for just throwing out crap and saying, well, we got to get these losses. We got to get to that 14% chance of getting the number 1 pick. And so whatever takes away that incentive to keep putting a bad product on the floor, you can lose games. That's fine. There's going to be bad teams. That's fine. It's about making a good product. We are still putting on a show. This is still entertainment. Like, you're still charging fans, ticket prices and concessions. Like, what did Utah take away? Like, did they put tickets on sale at a discount? No, those ticket prices are still the ticket prices. Like, that was a horrible, embarrassing product to the point where Will Hardy, the coach, was basically revolting against his own team in press conferences towards the end. Like, if we're going to complain about the product all year round, which I found to be ridiculous anyways, we're complaining about ratings and 3-pointers and all this stuff. Like, are you watching what's on the floor? Like, this was a great year of basketball until like 8 teams at the end put bad products on the floor for the last 2 months. So I think it's just a simple way of taking it away. And I do think there are cities set up to build dynasties with. Like, yes, you've had the Lakers, and when Michael Jordan was around, you had the Bulls. So, and outside of him being around, that franchise has been garbage, like pretty much every other year, aside from like a couple Derrick Rose years. But yes, the Lakers and the Celtics, and like you do have these cities, but also like you had San Antonio for 15 years be a title contender, right? The Thunder are set up in Oklahoma City to be great for, probably 10 to 15 years, assuming they can keep this thing together. You have teams able to build in this new collective bargaining agreement for a certain amount of time. It never lasts as long as we think it's going to, but I do think you can build things in these other cities. I don't think it takes putting a horrendous product on the floor at the end of the season to do it.
I think that also as the game becomes more international, that's going to happen as well, because a guy like Giannis is just like, I'm happy to be in America, not hiding in Greece, where my family is constantly being afraid of being deported. If you watch like the documentary on him that came out last year, like that was a real reality for him, or the Disney movie version, either one. Like he doesn't care. He's in Milwaukee. He's psyched to be in the NBA. It's ironic that Luka wound up with the Lakers, but he was perfectly happy in Dallas. In fact, we know he was very sad to leave Dallas.
He was bummed. He was like very emotional. Yeah.
And so I think that now that we have these international guys as the best players in the sport, and even like some of the best young American players, like Ja's become a more complicated figure, but like I don't think he's looking to run out of Memphis as soon as he possibly can.
Anthony Edwards wants to be in Minneapolis.
Like there are dudes now that are just like, yeah, I can build it anywhere. I care about having a good organization. I care. And that's, from talking to the Wizards and listening to what they're doing, like that's what they're trying to do. Like we want to treat people really well. And Will Dawkins talked about this at his presser yesterday, where, they had conversations with guys like Chris Middleton and Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart. And they're like, how can we make your time here? It's not like, hey, we're going to keep you forever. Like we eventually want to, and they'll tell them like straight up, when it's time, we'll flip you to someone who, where you can go try to win at the end of your career. I mean, that was the agreed upon thing with Kyle Kuzma, was like, hey, man, we want you here as long as you want to be here. And when it's time to go, you tell us and we'll get you out of here.
And he even last year was like, no, I don't really want to go to Dallas, right? Like he had an opportunity to go to Dallas
to an extent,
right?
Yeah, there was that story, I think, got a little out over its skis. But if Kyle Kuzma had really, really wanted to go to Dallas last year, there were offers on the table. And I think that the Wizards would have done it, push comes to shove.
Right.
So 100% they want to make this, and Will referenced a conversation he had with Marcus yesterday in the presser, and he's like, when he got here, we told him our number one goal for you is to help you find your joy again. Things did not go well for him in Memphis in the way that he wanted, the way that Memphis wanted. That happens. It's no one's fault. But now that you're here, how do we get you to enjoy basketball again? And you see him when Bub Carrington hits that shot in Miami to confuse Wizards fans' emotions as possibly could be, because of the current lottery rules being what they are. And Marcus Smart's one of the first guys to go dive on Bub at the other end of the floor. And like that stuff is going to matter way more, I think, moving forward. And in some ways it goes back to Durant. We're like, oh my God, can Kevin Durant build a brand in Oklahoma City? And then he's the second biggest star in the sport. And once that answer was yes, I feel like the cat was out of the bag beyond LA, Miami, et cetera, even if those places, for the same old reasons that they've ever been, are still probably the top destinations for the top superstars.
Yeah. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has a Skims sponsorship and a signature shoe and like
AT&T, and he's got Chet with him in the AT&T commercials.
He's got a commercial that will not stop. It's on whether your TV's on or not. Like it will come through. Like it will turn your TV on. Like there's opportunity. Like it's the internet, right? Like it's the digital age. Like that stuff doesn't matter in the same way. Like yes, there are certain climates people want to be in and players want to be in, but for the most part, like you can be a star anywhere. It is about building a culture that players want to be a part of, and it is about building a competitive culture that players want to be a part of. And I think moments like Bub hitting that shot and Marcus Smart making that feel good, the veterans making that feel like, yes, you did something. Like, yes, all this losing was purposeful, but we still celebrate wins. Winning still matters, even in a losing season. Competition's good. Like, you need to, like, it was one of the things where early on with Charlotte this year, Charles Lee was trying to make them not Charlotte anymore. And he was trying to create a defensive mind. And like, you could see some of the, the tenets of what he was trying to establish. And like, okay, like maybe they won't be. And then they were Charlotte. Like, you just couldn't, like, you couldn't get it out of them. You couldn't delouse them of being Charlotte. Yeah, you could unhornet the Hornets, but you could at least say, like, okay, I see the plan. Like, you got to get rid of a lot of these players, but I can see the plan. Washington, even though they were so bad, I see the vision, right?
Yeah.
Like, I see the vision, and the vision's good. It will just take time, but that's good. Like, bringing in Middleton and bringing in Marcus and bringing in Brock, like, you do need those veterans. You saw it in Houston the last couple of years of Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet and Jeff Green, of like, you have young talent. Granted, that talent was better than where Washington's talent is now, but you have young talent. You need the veterans to help mold that. That's how it works.
Zach Harper from The Athletic with us here on the Hoffman Show. I think that also gets back to kind of the origins of this discussion, right? Of if you are trying to not Cobra effect this, right? For those that don't know what the Cobra effect is, basically, it's like ancient Egypt or whatever it was. Actually, I have it pulled up. British India back in the day, they had too many cobra snakes. And so they're like, everybody who brings us a cobra head, you get a reward. And then people started farming cobras so they could chop off their heads, and it actually made the problem worse. So if we're not trying to Cobra affect this thing in terms of winning is good, we should incentivize winning. Then this all plays into it, right?
Right.
If you can encourage teams to win more, and that will help their team development, as opposed to just trying to sink to the bottom, I think you can build these better cultures. Because, I think this is a risk that the Wizards have taken well, where they're like, we're going to bring in the right veterans. And we're only going to play them so much, especially at the end of the season, because our young guys got a little too good. And if we had played the Washington Wizards, not the Capital City Go-Go, the last 10 games, because Utah was frantically running as fast as they could to the bottom, we would not be where we want to be in the lottery odds. But Houston, same thing. Like, they figured out how to kind of do that. Now all of a sudden they're the 2 seed in the West. Chris Paul being back in Oklahoma City a couple years ago, being a mentor to Shea. Like, it is, if we could do that more, I think that would be great. Is there something beyond, I guess the question for that, Zach, would be, is there something else beyond the lottery being changed that you think could help roster building wise to do that? I have one idea, but I'm curious if you have any others you want to spit out.
I think in theory, like, I'm very against this collective bargaining agreement. Which, I mean, does nothing because it's here, and I don't think they're going to peel back anything that exists. Like, I think that the first and second apron, mostly the second apron penalties, are just so short-sighted and really bad for teams. Penalizing teams for spending money to keep their team together.
Yes.
Like, that's going to hurt the Thunder.
Yes.
We should be celebrating what the Thunder have put together.
Right.
We should be encouraging, like, hey, you want to spend the money to keep this team? Like, yes, we will tax you, but restricting how they keep teams together is so stupid. It will at some point disperse veterans to other teams, and I think maybe that dispersing of veterans, because you can't afford to keep them all together, maybe in theory will put them on the bad teams, kind of like we've seen, in very different ways, but like you see Chris Middleton getting to Washington, like you see some of these veterans getting to other teams, and that will help young players. And I do think, like, that can maybe be the good effect, the very few good effects of this collective bargaining agreement. But I do think it just ends up being, our teams smart enough to create cultures of competition? In Portland, at a certain point in the middle of the season, fans were really angry at Chauncey Billups for bringing Shaedon Sharpe off the bench because he wasn't playing defense. Like, well, he's so talented. Like, why is he why are you benching him? Like, well, you should be able to prove that you are a starter. I don't think it, like, my first year being a credentialed media member was the Tyreek Evans rookie year, and I was covering the Kings. And I remember fans were very upset that Omri Caspi wasn't starting. He was also a rookie that year. And Francisco Garcia was the starter over him. And Francisco Garcia was a solid veteran wing, right? And my point then was, if you can't prove that you are better than Francisco Garcia and deserve that starting role, then you're not a starter, even for a rebuilding team.
Right.
And I think earning minutes, even if you're a super talented young player, I think that's the culture. Even these rebuilding teams, even these bad teams like Washington, Utah, Charlotte, you should absolutely have to earn your spot no matter what. And that, I think that instilling that in these teams, and I think you're starting to see that a little bit more as these teams try to get serious, as these bad franchises try to get serious. That's kind of what it takes. It's a veteran presence, and that I don't care what your agent or your contract said, you've got to earn your minutes.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And, something else that Dawkins said that I thought was interesting, because he was asked about the pick that Washington has next year, which is top 8 protected. And the question, I credit Varun Shankar from the Washington Post for asking it. He was like, is that going to affect how you play this season? And Will was basically like, we'll probably be playing a lot of young guys, but if our young guys are great and we shoot over that, then cool. I'm fine with it. And I actually believe them. If it's close at the end, they'll be playing the Capital City Go-Go again to keep that pick, because that is a big deal. Yeah. Keeping that pick versus having it be 2 seconds the year after to the Knicks for a trade that's 7 years ago at this point.
Right.
That I think Tommy Shepard made, but I might even be before that. That's a crazy thing that the Wizards are going to have to deal with. But if you're too good, and especially because you got Cooper Flagg, you're too good, that definitely changes the equation. The other thing that I would say for me from a rule standpoint and the money and an idea that I've had for a while is, I think the Supermax is the dumbest thing going in the NBA, because if you are incentivizing, hey, we'll pay you more than everyone else. Okay, cool. They can't offer you the contract, we can. Why would you offer that to some? You are having to bet against yourself, and it's meant to reward players.
Sure.
But why can't we have an exception in the salary cap? Not that we need more exceptions, but just have the Supermax contract count the same as a max contract for another team, because you're basically punishing the team for rewarding the player, which all the agents are like, if you don't give me my guy that contract, then he's going to go somewhere else for less money. And it's it's a very stupid construct.
It should be yes, you pay him the money, but it only counts the same as the other contract against the cap. Yeah. I'm with you. It's funny because I was writing a few weeks ago, I was writing about the all NBA teams. Right. And I was I was trying to decide, is Jaren Jackson Jr. going to make it? And if he makes it, he's going to be eligible for the Supermax. And I kind of wrote as this aside, I'm oddly enough, Grizzlies fans should hope he doesn't.
Yeah.
Because it's actually better for the building of the franchise if he doesn't get it. And you would think no, I want my guy, I root for him. I've got his jersey. I love Jaren Jackson Jr. I want him to get these accolades, but it's actually better in the long run for the team if he doesn't, which is a crazy way to have to then think about rewarding the player and the team and everything. You're right. It does work against the team, and you should always want your favorite players and your team to get the accolades. It is a very backward concept. And as I'm lucky enough to be a voter, and people have asked me well, you got to factor in the money that these guys can earn. I'm I don't have to factor in anything. I never factor, that's not my fault. I don't that's not my rule. I never factor stuff in with the contracts and stuff, because that shouldn't be on me. So to me, it is just what happened that season, and that's it. I don't factor in anything else outside of that, because that's somebody else's decision.
100%. And again, NBA office, we know you're listening. They're not listening. But if somehow this clip finds you, incentivize winning and incentivize teams being good. That's how your league should run. That's
what a crazy concept.
We could have ended this thing 20 minutes ago and been just fine with that. But that really, there's the details if you need them. Zach Harper, where can folks check out more of your stuff, whether it's the writing, the podcast, etc.?
You can subscribe to The Athletic, which is great. It's well worth the money. If I understand not everybody wants to pay for content, you could subscribe to The Athletic's basketball newsletter, which is free. theathletic.com/thebounce. I write it every day, Monday through Friday. Theathletic.com/thebounce. All of our newsletters are great. So we got it for every sport. We got one called The Pulse that does everything. Check out podcasts, Basketball Illuminati. If you like bad movies, do a bad movie podcast called Cinephobe. get that wherever you get podcasts.
There you go. Zach Harper. Everybody else can follow him at Talk Hoops on the social medias. We'll be back with probably not more on this because we've already solved all the NBA's problems next on The Hoffman Show.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
is Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too, on the Team 980. When that beat dropped, Anthony, it's a good thing we were still in commercial break.
Why?
I think we both lost our minds a little bit.
Oh, I didn't get to see you then.
It was a long break, and then we were kind of like, I'm awake.
Yup.
We're awake. We're ready to go. It's 5:35 on a Friday afternoon in the District of Columbia, where eventually, a couple years from now, we're hoping to be previewing playoff basketball for the Washington Wizards. Unfortunately, we've put the bow on the Wizards season already. We anxiously await the NBA draft lottery. I believe the date is May 12th, but who is counting? And instead, we preview everyone else that is still playing basketball. Of course, there's play-in games tonight, Anthony, although I don't think if we do the old preview and prediction deal, I don't think tonight's outcomes are going to affect our predictions for the playoffs.
No.
AKA the winners tonight who become the 8 seeds. I don't think we're going to pick them to beat the 1 seeds.
Yeah.
All right. Should we start with the East or start with the West? Initially, we were going to start with the West.
I think we should start with the East.
What'd you say?
I think we should start with the East.
I think we should start with the East, too. We're going to save the best for last. And with all due respect to the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference playoffs are more exciting. The Eastern Conference Finals will go something like this. The Cleveland Cavaliers will take on either the Atlanta Hawks or the Miami Heat. The only 8 seeds that have won series over number 1 seed since the first round went to best of 7 in 2003 were the 03 Phoenix Suns versus San Antonio, the 07 Golden State Warriors, the We Believe Warriors versus the Mavs, and the 2016 Pistons versus the Cavs. I do not think this Cavs team is going to succumb to either the Heat or the Hawks, Anthony. I don't know how much more we have to say about this. The Cavs are really, really good, and if it wasn't for the Thunder, they would be the unheralded story of the NBA. They are a 60-plus win team. They are really good defensively. Donovan Mitchell he's an interesting playoff performer. He's had massive games in the playoffs. He's also had some real stinkers, but I trust him around this time of year. And as long as they stay healthy, they should more than do their part here to create the collision course we all think is going to happen between them and Boston in the conference final.
Yeah, they're going to sweep whoever is the 8 seed. If it's the Hawks, if it's the Heat, it doesn't matter. Defensively, they're just too good. And then Darius Garland, him coming on, you also have, Spider, and then also they have Evan Mobley, who has grown into – I think he's one of the more underrated guys just because he's quiet. Personalities, also quiet too. So I think just them being able to, work together throughout the season – I think they're ready. They're ready for Cleveland.
They are. I will say this. Good note from Kevin Pelton in his preview. I've got Pelton's preview up, so we'll get a couple KP nuggets in here, which is always a good addition to the show. The Hawks have been, if they win tonight, a bit of a thorn in Cleveland's side this season. They're 2-1, and remember Cleveland started 21-3. 2 of the losses were to Atlanta. So Atlanta seems like the more viable matchup there, but we'll see what happens tonight between Atlanta and Miami. The spunky Orlando Magic, who put a butt whooping on Atlanta the other night to become the 7th seed, their reward, the defending champion Celtics. This will be a good learning experience for the Magic.
It will. Also, the Celtics just have too much shooting on the outside. Jaylen Brown, his knee injury, that is something to watch and monitor, but I still think without him, they just have too much firepower.
There's a part of me that's like, just sit him for game 1. And sit him until you lose a game. And then if he can play, great. But you just try to not, he needs to be right for later. They can and should be able to win this series without him, even though that's not how things go. All right, Knicks and Pistons. What if I told you Cade Cunningham has become a top 15 player in the NBA? What if I told you Cade Cunningham might be a top 10 player in the NBA?
I would agree.
I think based off the season he had, it's almost hard to make a case otherwise. Now, it's going to be interesting because so many guards had so many good years, but there's a real good chance Cade Cunningham's making one of the first 2 All-NBA teams at the guard position. He might make first team. I mean, he had an unbelievable season. and defensively, like they're pretty good. And Cunningham, by the way, specifically excellent against the Knicks. Averaged 30.8 points, 8.3 assists against the Knicks this season. But we all know that the Knicks are a very, very tough team. That's the kind of team that you want in the playoffs. My question with Thibs teams always, though, is they play so hard night in, night out. What happens when everyone else plays that hard too? That's really my question, is they play at playoff intensity, which is a credit to them, but when everyone else is playing at playoff intensity, your advantage on intensity dissipates. Now what? And I don't know the answer to that. I'll pick the Knicks in this series. I think their experience and Jalen Brunson's shot making is the difference, but it would not surprise me if the Pistons pull an upset here.
Give me the Pistons, man. I think they've tried their very best to, bring back the bad boys intensity and like play style to their roster, and then to have Cade Cunningham the season he's had and the player he's blossomed into is incredible, and it just speaks to trusting the process, to be honest. And I think he's doing a good job out there. I think he's going to be a matchup nightmare. They don't have a guy out there. Josh Hart is my guy, but he's giving Josh Hart fits all
season.
All season.
Yeah. The other X factor here is potentially Malik Beasley. 319 3-pointers this season, ranked second in the NBA. But he has struggled before in the playoffs, shooting just 26.9% on threes during the 2023 postseason with the Lakers. Obviously, Detroit's offense is going to rely a lot on that. So can they do that? We'll see. Didn't someone pass him on the final? Was it Anthony Edwards?
Anthony Edwards. He needed
like
Malik
8 threes
Beasley
or something.
Malik Beasley tweeted him and was like, "Anthony, you need 7 to pass me for the season and for the most threes all time by a Timberwolves player." And Anthony went out there and dropped it. I think he hit 8.
Yeah, he sure did. But Beasley now with the Pistons. Pacers and Bucks. This is the 4-5 matchup, and it got a lot more interesting yesterday because Damian Lillard has been cleared of the deep vein thrombosis that was in his shoulder, the blood clot issue. He's off the blood thinners, and thus he is going to be ready to play theoretically somewhere in this series. Game 1 is Saturday. He is out for that game. But there's a 2-day break before Game 2 on Tuesday, and he could potentially come back as early as that. This, to me, is a total matchup of styles. The Bucks, they can be a little grimy. The Pacers are one of the fastest teams in the league, but also, do you want to get in a track meet with Giannis in the playoffs where he's just going to run his face off the entire time? So I think this is really interesting. They also just don't have a good matchup. They got a bunch of like smaller, quicker, like the Pacers are a pain if you have a bunch of perimeter oriented guys because they got guys like Nembhard who guard really, really hard. They don't have bigs like that. It's probably going to be Pascal Siakam on Giannis. And at this point in Pascal's career, that is a major advantage for Giannis.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I want to go with in this series. I don't think the Bucks have the scoring to keep up with the Pacers. So I think I'm going to end up going with the Pacers. If Dame does come back for Game 2, though, I think that will change my stance. But I think if he misses the first 2 games, it's the Pacers to win. You can't give a team 2 games in the playoffs. I'm
going to just simply go. I've got 2 different theories in NBA playoff series. One is very matchup deficient or driven, and just look at the matchups and see what's obvious and see if anything stands out. The other is who's the best player in the series. Giannis is the best player in the series. All due respect to Tyrese Halliburton, who's excellent. And you combine the fact that they don't have anybody to match up with him. I'll take Milwaukee. So I got Milwaukee, New York, and then the 2 favorites, Boston and Cleveland. Anthony's got Boston, Cleveland, Detroit, and Indiana. That's the East. We will preview and pick the West when we get back here on the Team 980. The Hoffman Show, we're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980, where for some reason, Anthony, the whole screen that you were on just shrunk. That's all right. We're going to get Anthony back on the screen expeditiously in 3, 2, start the countdown over. In 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Haney on the internet if you're watching on YouTube. Anthony, let's preview the Western Conference playoffs now. Before we are joined at 6 o'clock by Mike Vorkunov of The Athletic. Mike wrote a big old story on sports gambling and the ring of sports gambling that involved and enraptured, not enraptured, that would be a nice pun, but enraptured Jonte Porter, the former Raptors guard. And seems to be a lot bigger than just Jonte Porter. We talked to Mike about that and the state of sports gambling. And we didn't get a chance. We did that earlier in the week. And then the RFK story broke, so we didn't get a chance to play it for you. So we are going to play that coming up at 6 o'clock. Really interesting conversation, kind of about I would say the biggest constant story in sports right now. But NBA playoffs this weekend. The Oklahoma City Thunder will take on either the Memphis Grizzlies or the Dallas Mavericks. Anthony, do either of these teams have a chance of winning one game against the 68-win Thunder?
Would you say one game?
Yeah.
Maybe. No, I don't think so, to be honest. No.
Yeah, they could get one.
Maybe I think game 3 will be the game if they're going to get a game. After that, no, they're not winning another game.
That does feel correct. This game tonight, by the way, has huge Wizards implications. Are you aware of this, Anthony?
Essentially, if the Grizz clinch,
if the Grizz win, the Wizards get a first-round pick. If not, they get some seconds next year. So
we need them to win tonight.
Let's go Grizzlies. Let's go Grizzlies. If you either are watching this game tonight or you're waking up tomorrow morning and checking the score first thing, that might be me, you are hoping to see Grizzlies advance. One, it would make Nico Harrison sad, and we are pro that on this show because he traded Luka Doncic, and that's one of the dumbest things that's ever happened. Two, it would get the Wizards a first-round pick, and we like first-round picks around here. First-round picks are good. Golden State and Houston. This is going to be an incredible series. You have the team that is likely the second favorite coming out of the West because they have been the second best team in the West since acquiring Jimmy Butler and Golden State, going against the actual 2 seed in the West in Houston. Houston is young and they are scrappy, but they also have really, really, really good vets that have a ton of playoff experience, including against the Warriors. Steven Adams, Jeff Green, Fred VanVleet. Of course, VanVleet on that Toronto team that beat Golden State in the 2019 finals. And there's Dylan Brooks, who feels like he's going to try to start a fight with Jimmy and or Draymond, and we'll see if he succeeds. The best player on the Houston Rockets, the one that you need to know, is Alperen Şengün. Their big man is excellent. And, the Golden State Warriors, for as great as they are, they don't have, Draymond's their big in their best lineups. Can Green, at his size, deal with Şengün at his? There's no other 6'7" guy I'd pick in the league to do it. But I do think that if I'm Houston, I need Alperen Şengün to average about 35 in this series, and then hope that Dylan Brooks and everyone else on the perimeter can do what they need to do against Steph. But obviously, that's a lot harder with Jimmy on the floor.
Yeah, I think Şengün is definitely going to have himself a big series. One person you didn't mention, Jalen Green. I think this could be a series where he steps up, and also Amen Thompson. He's going to be tasked with defending Steph Curry. The last time they played, he held on to one field goal, Craig. He held on to one field goal. The length, his athleticism, his speed, I don't know. This could definitely be a series that goes 7. And I think, to be honest, this is my favorite series out of all the Western Conference series, including my Lakers.
Yeah, this series is going to be fascinating because the thing is, Thompson's unbelievable as a defender, but Steph Curry. Steph will figure it out. And, that's the beauty of this is why I love the NBA playoffs. The problem solving that has to happen compared to the average regular season game of what you do with lineups. I mean, Jonathan Kuminga's out of the rotation right now for Golden State. He could very easily be a X factor in a series and help them win a championship. The current night-to-night rotation, their best version, is without Jonathan Kuminga. But in this series, could he come in and provide a different kind of offense, a different kind of push, different kind of punch? Yeah, he could. That's the beauty of it. So it's fun to see. And obviously these are two coaches with a ton of playoff experience, championship level experience. So it's going to be fun to watch. Your Lakers, Anthony, are hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Lakers, the 3 seed, T-Wolves, the 6. From Kevin Pelton's article, amusingly, this features the second largest West gap between the two teams in point differential after the 1-8 series. Only it favors the lower-seeded Timberwolves +5, who were second to Oklahoma City in point differential amongst Western teams. The Lakers +1.2, ranked 8th, but they have home court advantage nonetheless. Of course, that's also a season-long stat. The Lakers season changed dramatically when they got that Luka Doncic fella. I am taking LA in this series because I think in playoff basketball, the ability to control games is really important. And I don't know that there's two better guys in the whole entire league at controlling the pace and controlling the action of a game than Luka and LeBron.
I forgot to mention, I'm taking the Warriors in the
I'm also taking the Warriors.
For the Lakers, I'm taking the Lakers in this series. I do think there's some pressure on Luka Doncic to go out there and perform in the playoffs. But I'm not going to lie, looking across at Anthony Edwards, he does scare me a little bit.
Of course.
He's had some big games this season. He's shooting the ball from 3 extremely well. The only thing is, where's his help? Can Rudy Gobert be that help? Julius Randle be that help? And I just don't think I wouldn't put my trust in those guys over LeBron James and also Reeves, who Luka has.
Yeah, I mean, Reeves is playing so confidently right now. I will take the Lakers as well. And then the 4-5, Denver Nuggets, LA Clippers. Is this the year that finally Kawhi can stay healthy in a playoff series?
Woo!
I'm going to guess yes, and because he's just starting to play. And if he does, then I'm taking the Clippers. And if not, I'm taking the Nuggets. And I know that's a cop-out answer, but I'd rather be right. I'd rather be right. If Kawhi plays 6 of the 7 games, give me the Clippers. If he plays less than that, give me the Nuggets.
Okay, well, I'll be taking the Clippers. I think he's going to stay healthy. They did a good job of, load managing him throughout the season in time for him to, show up and show out in the playoffs. And I think he's going to be able to do that. Also, is Jamal Murray back for the Nuggets?
It does appear that Jamal Murray
okay, finally,
is going to be back, but we'll see what kind of shape he's in. Sometimes it takes a little bit to find it, but Jamal Murray as a playoff player has been absolutely ridiculous over the past bunch of years. All right, those are our picks. Those are the previews. NBA playoffs start tomorrow, and again, go Grizzlies tonight in terms of what it means for the Wizards and their future draft capital. When we get back here on the Team 980, Mike Vorkunov is going to join us from The Athletic. He wrote about sports gambling this week, including some new details on how Jonte Porter got caught. And then we shift the discussion into the current state of play for gambling in the NBA and in sports in general. Is there a way to maybe keep it legal, but maybe not get it in our faces all the time? Mike and I talk about that next on The Hoffman Show.
it's a lot easier to gamble now, right? And if it's a lot easier to gamble, more people are going to be gambling, and there's more opportunity for something like this to happen. Before last year, it was able to gamble on prop bets for two-way guys, right? Like that's how the Jonte Porter thing happened. It's like you were able to bet on Jonte Porter's points, rebounds, and assists. Who really knows anything about Jonte Porter's points, rebounds, and assists, right?
Turns out Jonte Porter.
Point,
Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, and of course on YouTube too at the Team 980. And it's our pleasure to welcome, I believe, back to the show, Mike Vorkunov of The Athletic. I think we did this last year sometime during some of the NBA. Something silly was happening.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm forgettable, so I can understand.
No
one remembers on the show before.
Look, Mike, we do 3 hours a day. I don't remember what I had for lunch yet, or today. Nevertheless, yesterday. This is very much a me thing.
Oh, listen, I'm not taking offense. I'm saying that literally. It's okay.
All right. Well, this story, definitely not forgettable. This story is one I'm going to remember reading for a long time. Mike wrote about I guess the best way to describe this is ongoing betting scandal in both college and professional sports. This does include a branch of the tree, if you will, that was the Jonte Porter piece of this. Porter, of course, suspended by the NBA for his role. And in Mike's story in The Athletic, there's more details on that. But I think a lot of us, Mike, in reading about the Jonte Porter story, assume like that was its own tree. When did you realize, no, that's not a tree, that's a branch off this much bigger thing that authorities, both authorities in the regulatory space of leagues, but also federal investigative authorities are looking at?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think it's important to note, too, this is something that everyone still seems to be kind of piecing together, too. There's a federal investigation into this from, the FBI and the DOJ looking into this. But, I think it was the Jonte Porter case last March that kind of spurred the interest, or rather led to the FBI getting involved, right, as they were looking into him talking to these other men that are involved in this, alleged sports gambling scheme with him. And the further they looked around the same time, I don't know if you remember, there was a Temple game, college basketball game that raised the interest of betting integrity monitors, and eventually made its way into the public that there was like this line that drastically went up over a period of time related to the first half there of that game. And so I think that was around the time when the federal law enforcement got into it and started looking into this, and they started to see some potentially the same people kind of cross-pollinating between those two things. And I think it's hard to talk about this in terms of definitives, right? We still don't know for sure. The federal investigation is ongoing. The NCAA is investigating. The schools are not saying much at this point, but they are investigating links between the Jonte Porter case, which led to him being banned from the NBA, and also, potential sports gambling impropriety with a number of college basketball programs this season.
So the Porter details that you have in this story, to me, are fascinating because they read like a movie script. And there's also this, like, these guys cannot possibly be this stupid, can they? So basically, Jonte Porter tips off these gamblers who bet massive amounts on the under Jonte Porter's. Porter then is like, oh, my eye is injured. I have to leave this game. They hit, and then it happens a couple of times and people are onto it. I mean, in some ways, Mike, I don't have a better way to ask this. Like, could they possibly be that stupid, like, to bet that much money on someone like Jonte Porter, all due respect to him as a basketball player, which is not a whole lot relative to his NBA brethren, that they would get caught this easily? Or is this more sophisticated potentially than it reads in this story, and with those very few details isolated outside of their larger context?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think seems like some clumsiness on their behalf, right? At one point, Jonte Porter even texted those people that he was working with, according to what law enforcement found on the messages they found on their phone, saying like, "Are we getting hit with a RICO for this?" Which is obviously a federal crime. But yeah, they were talking about it for over 2 months. There, he got out of a January 27th game with an eye injury, or what he claimed was an eye injury, and then he claimed an illness for a March 20th game. And which kind of, these are the messages that the government was able to take off their phones, which show the kind of premeditated nature of this. And I think how this whole thing worked, right? Like, he got into gambling debt, according to the feds, and that's how he decided he had to pay them off. And I think it's very interesting because that's the most that we know about this, this scheme to this point, right? So as we're all trying to piece together what else is going on, it's curious that this was kind of the path they chose. And to your point, it was a little bit clumsy because if they find your communication, right, like in the federal government has a way of being able to do that. If they start investigating something, there's a lot of incriminating stuff left on their phones to connect them to it.
Yeah. Again, everybody, when you commit your crimes, don't do it in writing. A professional, it's not professional advice. It's just kind of logical advice. I've never committed any crimes, certainly none in writing. Mike Vorkunov is with us from The Athletic here on the Hoffman Show. I guess the other part that I have to ask about Porter specifically is, like, dude's making NBA money. Like, how much gambling debt are we talking about here that he felt the need to throw games that wasn't just like, yeah, I'll pay you for these poker games because I have the cash to do so, and I'm not going to ruin the rest of my career by putting this at risk. Like, how does a guy in that situation, nevertheless, maybe some of the college athletes we're talking about, get down that bad?
That's a great question, and that's something I've certainly been thinking about too. He was making the league minimum last year, but that's still he was on a 2-way contract, but that's still $500,000, right? It was not his first year in the NBA. He's a brother of Michael Porter Jr., who's on a max deal, right? So at least there's family money to speak of. And so that's something I've been wondering about. How much gambling debt do you have to be in to be willing to throw your own games, right? And I think it's a very important question because it can kind of speak to how badly he was tied up into it and how badly others might be tied up into it. And I think that's one of the more interesting things that we don't know about all this. We know a little bit about how this has worked, maybe even more than we originally thought we could. But yeah, one thing that did strike out at me is that one of the messages, the text messages that they found, is that Porter texted one of the people who was also arrested in this, along with him as part of this, this gambling scheme that the federal government says was in play, was that he said, if I don't get you $8,000 by Friday, you're coming to Toronto to beat me up. That's a direct quote from the text messages. To me, $8,000 is not, if you're making $500,000 an NBA player, perhaps doesn't sound like an inordinate amount of money, but we also don't know how many times that kind of message was sent, or how many times they talk about such things. So yeah, the amount of money at play here is critical, and that's an answer we don't have yet.
Yeah, that is definitely interesting. One of the other really interesting parts of your story, Mike, I thought was something you covered towards the end of it, which is kind of the second tier conversation off of this, which is, did the system actually work, right? And so in some ways, if you want to make a historical comparison here, like, Prohibition in the 1920s didn't stop people from drinking alcohol. It just all moved underground. And for years, sports gambling, we all knew it was happening. And it was either happening in very small amounts legally in Las Vegas or with bookies around the country illegally under the table. And now, you have quotes from Adam Silver, for instance, who's like, basically, we partner with these places, the integrity monitors and the sports books, and, that we can catch things like this happening. So is this actually proof of concept in some ways of the legalization of sports gambling, or is this larger ring a proof that putting it out into the public sphere and allowing more people in is encouraging it to happen in larger numbers and thus incurring more problems?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question, and that's something kind of at the heart of the legalization of sports gambling right now, right? I think if you're talking to Adam Silver, or you're talking to any of these professional sports leagues that are now in bed with the gambling industry, you're talking to people from sports books or from integrity monitors, they're saying, because it's legal now and it's above board, these things are easier to catch, right? Adam Silver compared it to insider trading, which is at least you have records of all these things. And so you're able to say, hey, we saw, this betting line for this game spike up. Let's look into it. Let's follow down the trail, and we can find if something bad was going on. And so they're saying that's a reason why it's good that sports gambling rather is legalized, right? And if you talk to kind of sports gambling experts and people who have been involved in that space for a while, they've said, look, match fixing to some degree has been going on for a while. And something like this was able to be caught because it was, going through the legal channels. But I think you make a fair point. Like, it's a lot easier to gamble now, right? And if it's a lot easier to gamble, more people are going to be gambling, and there's more opportunity for something like this to happen. Before last year, it was able to gamble on prop bets for two-way guys. right? Like that's how the Jontay Porter thing happened. It's like you were able to bet on Jontay Porter's points, rebounds, and assists. Who really knows anything about Jontay Porter's points, rebounds, and assists, right? Like,
Turns out Jontay Porter.
Jontay Porter, right? Like the most hardcore Raptors fans last year would probably not have much idea of what to expect from Jontay Porter on any given night, right? And I think now we also have a generation of athletes coming up that have been gambling, right? Like it's so easily accessible. It's in your pocket. I think we know with some level of confidence that even if you are not of age to gamble, if you're not 21, you're probably still gambling. We've seen it. You make an account through your family members, through your parents, through, girlfriends, boyfriends, like whatever it is. And so the ease of access to gambling has so many downstream effects that you can see how this all can go wrong. And we see kind of like leagues acknowledging this a little bit. The NBA work with DraftKings and FanDuel, who are their two official betting partners, to cut off prop bets on two-way players rather. Will that be enough? I don't know. I mean, money's all relative here, right? Like some people might say making $500,000 should kind of stop you from being involved in something like this, which is what Jontay Porter made on the two-way deal. We see the NCAA pushing for prop bets to be over on college athletes altogether, right? And college athletes are believed to be kind of more susceptible to this because some of them make no money, a lot of them make very little money through NIL, right? But I think it's going to be, I think the next few years are going to be very interesting because we're going to see how this all plays out in real time. Athletes who have grown up gambling, athletes who are comfortable with gambling now are also the ones who are being gambled on. And whether they start to gamble on themselves, start to gamble on their teammates, just because it's so normalized for them. It's no longer a taboo legally or culturally. I don't really know how this is all going to turn out.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's also obviously heavily affecting their experience. People yelling at them from the stands about their parlays and this and that, and we've heard a number of stories about that over the years. I guess my last question would be for you, Mike, and this can be whatever mix of your opinion and people that you talk to while reporting on these types of stories, how they feel about it. To me, like maybe there's a middle ground where you can both keep legalized gambling, thus you can track it and all that kind of stuff. But can we maybe regulate the advertising more? Can we not make it so in our face and such a big part of it where it's really hard for the NBA or the NFL to be like, hey, our players don't gamble or treat our players nicely while you gamble. This message brought to you by DraftKings. Get a 50% off token. And by the way, I say this as a sports radio host, and our industry is certainly propped up by that right now in a major, major way. So I understand that there's a lot of conflicts of interest here, and there's just a lot of money to be made. And like in the media, for instance, as you mentioned, story, The Athletic has a sponsorship with BetMGM. Like this is how this works. But if we're going to try to solve these problems, I think we're going to have to think creatively. Are there solutions that are out there to try to solve these problems? What are some of the best ones that you've maybe heard?
Yeah, I don't know that I've heard good ideas yet, to be honest.
No bad ideas in a brainstorm.
I think the problem is that if you try to take it out of people's faces, right? If you take it out, you watch a game on TNT now, Charles Barkley's like making his bets for FanDuel, right? Like
he guarantees
who in the world needs, right. And so the problem with that is if you try to create kind of designated streams for people who are interested in gambling, or you try to create kind of designated windows for all this stuff is in your face, and if you're watching something else it's not, then the reach is lowered, right? And then these betting companies who are using their advertising dollars to try to reach as many people are just not reaching as many people. And I think the money that sports gambling companies are spending in sports is so important now that it's also hard to kind of cut it off, right? Like we see revenue revenue in other areas coming down, and sports leagues and teams and media all have to find a way to make up for it. And sports gambling is stepping into that void. And so walking that line of, lessening their visibility, yet also taking just as much money. I don't know how you figure those two things out. I don't know how you make it less, how you put less sports gambling in everyone's face, but also you get just as much money from the sports gambling companies while doing that.
Yeah, the answer is you probably don't, and that's not an option viability-wise for a lot of media companies right now. So thus we have different problems to solve, or we have our current problems to solve. Mike Vorkunov writing about it at The Athletic. Mike, this was great. Really appreciate it. And again, great work on the story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Our weekend preview coming up in just a few minutes. But rounding out our WNBA draft week here, we had a chance on whatever day it was, Wednesday, to talk the days. Oh, how they run together. Jamila Wideman's the general manager of the Washington Mystics. We talked to her after the press conference on Wednesday, and we hadn't had a chance to play that conversation for you until right now. So we are. With Mystics general manager Jamila Wideman. And Jamila, the draft process for you it's not like it just is a week, till the season ends to now, but the process of meeting the actual people that you drafted. How do you go about trying to do that when so much of what you're trying to accomplish is focused on the character of who they are?
Yeah, I mean, you see character everywhere. I think you get one version of it, literally just watching players on the court. You get a different version in practice. We also are really careful to get different perspectives on what they see, right? Because everybody has a subjective lens. And so our coaches and our scouts are providing evaluations and thoughts and gathering conversations from people that are within a player's life, whether that's former coaches, because that constellation of impressions is important. Certainly wouldn't privilege just mine over everyone else. And so what you end up with is a collection of things. And then if you're lucky, you get the opportunity to talk to the athletes themselves, which is probably the most important part of the process.
So I was going to say, did you actually get a chance to talk to them? Because you used the word meet the other night in the press conference. I can't wait to meet them. And I'm like, wait, did you actually not get a chance to meet them before you drafted them?
Yeah, meet in person.
Okay.
Meet in person. So the prospect of having them actually walk through the door as 3D human beings was pretty exciting. And when that in fact happened, it was a whole different level, because you do have an opportunity, whether it's for me on it was on Zoom with these guys, and you see them live. But at a certain point, when you go behind the curtain and you're trying to think through your decisions, things get distant. And so to have that distance collapsed after having made the choice and they turn back into real people, it's pretty cool.
Not to say that media mock drafts are anything worth looking at other than it's something to reference, but of the 3 picks, the first 2 were very expected. Sonia and Kiki were kind of the consensus 3 and 4 players in this draft. Georgia was mocked anywhere from you guys at 6 to back even in the second round. So I'd like to, just because our time's limited, ask about Georgia. What separated her to be that 3rd pick for you at number 6 overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we saw in Georgia was a very, very special combination of skills on the court and also just an incredible leader off of it. And to see her do that at 2 different universities and to be able to do that at Kentucky in just a single year, we thought was a reflection of somebody who's very, very special. She has an incredible amount of energy. She's proven herself. She is probably going to be, if she's not in the gym already, I'd be surprised. Just an incredible work ethic. And I think she's the kind of person that can be sort of a gravitational pull for our team. A great example, incredibly humble. And so I think she also will come in both hungry, but also very, very respectful of the incredible talent that we already have.
It was great, and everyone feels good on this day when you're hearing the word comfortable a lot. And it's like, it just feels like a big family affair. This is a very rude league once you get on the court, and there is going to be the reality that they are going to be rookies in the WNBA, and this is the hardest league, I would say, in sports in the entire world because of how concentrated the talent is. So how do you both continue to make sure that they're comfortable as people, but get them ready for that incredibly intense competition that, they're competitive, that's why you drafted them, but how do you try to prepare them for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you heard Georgia quote Coach Johnson saying iron sharpens iron, and that's a hint about what's in store as all of our players come back to market and we have a chance to get them on the court together. And look, this is a natural progression. I know it sounds strange, but it's a natural progression for elite talent. These are kids who made a transition at every stage of their career to get to the next, to get to the next, to get to the next. It just so happens their next is to be professional basketball players in the WNBA. But that kind of a moment and that kind of an opportunity to step up and improve, it's not new to these guys. And so that's why we care more about their capacity than necessarily where they are right in this moment.
All right, last question for you is about you. This was your first time going through this. What'd you learn about your first offseason as a WNBA general manager that you're ready to take into your first season, and then ultimately offseason number 2?
I think 2 things. One, I think I already knew, but if I didn't, I learned even more, which is it takes a tremendous team to be prepared in the way that you need to be prepared for a moment like that. And so I'm incredibly grateful to stand on, I think, the expertise and the developed strength at Monumental. And it's also a space that has a lot of freedom for me to inject my footprint and my way of thinking as well. And so I think this draft was an example of that. And to have fun in the process. Like, at the end of the day, it's got to be a joyful process. It can't just be fun when you win. I've seen that, and it's never true. And so I think I will carry that into the season as well.
Jamila Wideman with us here on the Hoffman Show. Jamila, thank you.
Thank you.
Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. I feel like that music bed is very loud, Anthony, like general compared to the other ones.
Yeah, I just realized that too when you came back talking. I'm like, why is Craig so low? Or is the music bed just extremely loud?
My ears, because I wear headphones for the show, can tell you that was very loud.
Hey, I apologize.
Sorry to everyone's car speakers. Just a little throwback Nelly beat for you. As we wrap up final half hour, meaning Rebecca Black is next here on the Team 9.
Is she, Craig? Is she?
Unless you have some kind of surprise for me.
See, look, just like you surprised me with a pop quiz, Craig, I got a surprise for you too, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now I'm probably going to forget about it in 5 minutes, and we'll see what happens when I actually get surprised in 10. It's time for the weekend preview, brought to you by
nobody, Craig.
Oh, so the surprise isn't a sponsor.
Oh.
Who could have seen that coming? All right, it's a busy weekend around the world of sports. We talked about the NBA playoffs earlier in the show, but just to give you the schedule real quick, and then we'll dive into the NHL schedule. Tonight, Heat Hawks. It is a 7 o'clock tip for that one, 9:30 for the Mavs and Grizzlies. Again, the biggest rooting interest in this one, if you're a Wizards fan and you're like, what do I care? No, you do. The Grizzlies win. They make the playoffs, and you get their draft pick. If not, there's a lottery-protected pick, and the Grizzlies would be in the lottery because if you don't make the playoffs, you're in the lottery, even if you make the play-in, and thus you want the Grizzlies to make the playoffs. Go Grizz against the Mavs. They're 5.5-point favorites tonight at home, which I do think speaks well to the fact that Ja Morant should play tonight. Tomorrow is when the playoffs start. Bucks Pacers get it going 1 o'clock on ESPN. Clippers Nuggets 3:30 ESPN. 6 o'clock on ESPN. Pistons and Knicks, and then T-Wolves Lakers 8:30 tomorrow night. It's on ABC. Anthony.
Yes, sir. I can't wait, man.
Mavs,
can't wait.
ABC action continues on Sunday before they flip to TNT Sunday night. ABC doubleheader. Mavs Grizzlies winner takes on the Thunder. Magic Celtics Eastern Conference games early on in the day. And then Heat Hawks winner takes on the Cavaliers. Or I should say the Mavs, obviously the Mavs Grizzlies Western Conference. Heat Hawks, they kick off the TNT window to Sunday night at 7 against the Cavs. And then Warriors Rockets is the nightcap, 9:30 on Sunday. That game's in Houston, which is Central Time. Can we please get a Warriors Rockets game on when I'm going to be awake? Is that too much to ask? The answer is probably going to be yes, isn't it? Son of a gun.
Are you going to surprise us one day next week where you're up watching one of these games late?
Probably not. Like I did when I was younger. My sleep schedule changed. The thing is now, like
I just got too much stuff that happens early. Like I can't stay up late. I got early stuff that I do. I coach. I do the podcasts. Like I have a 3-hour block every single day that I can't do anything else. As do you. It's the Hoffman Show. Yeah. It's when we're on the air. And so everything else in my life that has to happen in a given day has to happen before that. So as the host of multiple other shows, podcasts, digital shows, etc., as someone who has a whole other second career coaching fitness, who wants to work out himself, who has a house and a wife, and wife would like to do a thing every now and again, although she works during the day too, but that means someone's got to do the stuff around the house, and I'll be damned if it's always going to be her. Hell no, I got stuff I got to do. Like Anthony, I don't know how to tell you this, bro. I'm busy.
Oh no, I know. You have a very busy life. I thought I did until I met you.
Yeah. I will say sometimes in the mornings though, or in the middle of the afternoon, I will watch a game from the night before.
Okay.
So that is helpful. I need to make sure I still have I will say one thing the NBA does, and I haven't used my online league pass in a long time. I really hope I still have the account that I had because I think it was a media account. If not, Wizards PR. You're gonna be I know you're all getting ready to go on vacation. I'm gonna need an assist here. They have condensed versions of the games, And it's not like you can still watch the full game, but they like cut out all the free throws and stuff. And so you can watch a full 48-minute game in like 35 minutes.
Yep.
That's very helpful playoff time to watch. I can still watch the entire game without having to take 2 hours with all the stoppages and the commercials. They take out all the stoppages. They take out all that stuff. So I guess it would be 48 minutes still, but like somehow they get it down sub 48.
That's good. I mean, it worked for you. It works for your schedule.
Yeah.
Got to get it up and running.
Got to be ready by 4 o'clock. That's the key to it all. All right. The NHL playoffs start this weekend as well. Of course, Capitals taking on the Canadiens. Saturday is when everything kicks off / puck drops. Blues and Jets get going 6 o'clock on TNT Saturday night. 8:30 is Avalanche and Stars in the West. Sunday, Devils, Hurricanes, 3 o'clock. Senators, Maple Leafs, 7 o'clock. Wild, Golden Knights, 10 o'clock. And then on Monday, Anthony, that is when the Capitals begin. So we'll try to get some Caps coverage in on the show on Monday. Canadiens and Capitals, 7 o'clock is when the puck drops. Blues and Jets, 7:30. Avalanche, Stars, 9:30. Oilers and Kings. Caps game, of course, will be on Monumental Sports Network as well as on ESPN. So pick your broadcast for that one.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have the NHL playoffs and NBA playoffs always started on the same weekend?
Yeah, pretty much. They end around the same time, too.
Why am I just now realizing that? I know their seasons start around the same time. I didn't know their playoffs also
Anthony,
started.
did you know how many games are in an NHL season? Take one guess.
82.
Yes.
That is crazy. Seriously?
Yeah, it's partially math. Because
I never knew that, Craig. I never knew that.
There's the same number of teams there's 30 teams in each league. And so if you play your divisional games, 4 of them, and then your conference games, 3 of them, and the other conference, 2 of them, it adds up to 82. Wow. Or you can split it a different way, but ultimately, like getting to 82 games with 30 teams is apparently very easy math because both leagues do it.
Dang, I've been in sports for a long time. I watched sports for a long time. I am just now realizing that. Wow.
All right. It's fun this year because they're sharing networks too. ESPN, TNT. Just flip on one. You'll get one sport. If it's the wrong sport, go to the other network.
That's crazy.
When have things been easier? All right, so that's that. Other sports that we like to keep an eye on this show. Monster NWSL matchup this weekend for your Washington Spirit. The Spirit are in Orlando. Rematch of the Challenge Cup game, which was a rematch and still is a rematch of last year's championship game. Spirit, of course, took the Challenge Cup, which is the preseason one-game tournament. The Pride, unfortunately, took the championship last year. Spirit are getting healthier, but still not fully healthy, but they can definitely compete. We did a big old preview of this game on the Hoffman Women's Sports WOSO show, Women's Soccer show, me and Andre Carlisle. That is on our YouTube page at Hoffman W Sports if you would like that. And then, Anthony, next weekend, the Spirit are hosting Gotham, and I believe that game might already be sold out. So another solid 19,000 folks going to be at Audi Field for a heck of a matchup next weekend.
Dang, already sold out, man.
We'll see if we can find you a ticket somewhere. But somewhere might be like in the boonies.
Hey, last time I went, I was up high. It didn't matter to me. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Not a bad seat in the house, so.
Hey, look, it wasn't. I got to stretch my legs out a little bit. You
ain't going to be able to stretch your legs out if it's sold out.
Well, that too.
Yeah. So you got that. You got that to figure out.
Yeah.
Other than that, Formula One's in Saudi Arabia this weekend. Street track should be a good, interesting race. So we'll see how that goes down. And anything else? Any boxing this weekend, Anthony, from the Anthony Boxing Department?
Next weekend there's some boxing. Not this weekend. All
right. I know DC Defenders, I believe, are in town this weekend as well. So they'll be doing their work at Audi Field while the Spirit are away. Anything else that we should note?
Easter
It's
weekend.
Easter Sunday. I was gonna get breakfast with someone on Sunday morning, and we set a time and a place, and we were very very set on doing what we were gonna do. And then texted me back and goes, "It's Easter. Never mind."
Yeah.
All right. So never mind on those plans. Can you imagine just jauntering in, forgetting that it's Easter? You're in like a decent, appropriate clothes for whatever restaurant you're at. And then everyone else is just in their Sunday Easter best. And you're like,
yep.
What is going on in the name of the bunny? We
and
forgot.
You also realize it's just so busy and so packed because everybody's going to be out.
Yeah, no, it's Sunday. Go for a nice long run. Ain't going to be nobody outside. Or maybe you will. Maybe there'll be, maybe people will be out doing Easter egg hunts.
That's fun.
Just run off with people's eggs.
Yeah.
This segment, somehow, some way, is brought to you by nobody. Here's a look at what's trending. such a fool. It's the Hoffman Show. Oh, my God. On the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980, where Anthony Haney has decided to not give you Rebecca Black on a Friday. Instead, if you've been listening all week, you understand why he just played the Go-Go remix of All I Want for Christmas Is You. Actually, you know why if you've listened. In that you remember when he did that earlier in the week. We had a whole discussion about it. You don't know why because we don't know what's going on inside that brain of his.
How was that, Craig? Was that a nice surprise for you?
Yeah, it was. I got a good chuckle out of it.
Okay.
I got a very nice.
That's all I wanted. So now I can play Rebecca Black Friday. Yay! JK.
Okay. For the last 5 minutes of the week, if it becomes the Haney Show instead of the Hoffman Show, then I think we'll be fine. Coming up next week on the show, I feel like do we have something on Monday? I mean, the Caps play Monday night, so we'll probably try to sneak in some Caps preview. We're gonna be very NFL draft heavy next week.
Yeah, we have a couple of topics. We might get some guests from Team 980, 106.7 The Fan,
etc.
We're cooking some stuff. That's what I'll say.
Okay. Is there any particular day? I mean, Adam Peters does his pre-draft presser on Tuesday, so you'll hear from Peters on Tuesday. Anything else that we need to let folks know about that's happening?
I think that's everything.
Okay. I'm going to put together all three of our coach interviews from the week. Kenny Brooks, Neil Ivey, and Lindsay Gottlieb, who joined us earlier in the show today, the three college head coaches of the Mystics draft picks in a special Hoffman W Sports podcast. So it's a different podcast feed, but you can check that out at Hoffman W, or just search Hoffman W Sports in your favorite podcast app. And all of the digital shows and the exclusive stuff that I do on YouTube, that stuff goes often there in audio form. But the three interviews that we did this week, I think it's nice to put them all in one place if folks missed it and want to. So I'm going to work on that probably tomorrow. And then beyond that, anything you missed on the show this week? We had great stuff. Take Command was awesome. If you missed Jeremy Green, you don't want to miss Jeremy Green. Did a big old mock draft. And by big old, I mean we went through the fourth round. We would have gone later, but we traded away all our seventh round picks to move around in that draft. So we got that for you to listen to this weekend. Really, this has been one of the most fun. Like, this week was stressful, Anthony, because there was a lot going on. But it has been one of the more fun weeks we've had on the show because we did a lot of different stuff.
No, it's definitely been fun. Got to go a few places, have remotes,
take some field trips, talk to some folks, do some things, flex
some people,
flex a little bit on our ability to cover different things well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. The only thing that's left to do then is one final edition of the week of Real Things Real People Said in Real Microphones.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All right, Anthony. What's in the magical folder of fun sound?
All right, we have a couple of things. One, Steph Curry and Steve Kerr, they shared a great moment after.
This was good. We should play this. Last night, or a couple nights ago, after Steph Curry closed out the Grizzlies with the final 10 Warriors points, he and Steve Kerr shared this moment.
That is the sign of a true superstar on a night that's not your night to do what you did down the stretch. That's who you are. It's just incredible. You know, whether it's your night or not, it's just like every night you come through, and it's amazing.
It is, and you know, it's funny. It's not his night. He finished with 37, didn't he?
Yeah, he was going crazy.
Those last 10 really helped, but 37, not your night. Must be nice. What else we got?
We have somebody. There's a reporter.
Oh, this was funny.
She asked whether or not she was coached up.
Yeah, her Louisiana accent came out, and it came out by accident.
Now, this roster the Tigers, who am I? Coach O? I'll let the Thibodeau slip out for a second there. Lock in.
I love the pep talk to yourself. Just lock in. Oh, I sent this to you from the other. I want to give the proper credit. I got
CBS Sports.
Well, CBS Sports is the one that posted it, but it's Brianna Andres. Brianna, congratulations. Welcome to Real Things. That was funny. I enjoyed both the "Who am I, Coach O?" and the pep talk. Come on, lock in. We've all had those moments, Anthony.
Especially when we had to do stand-ups for, our Newhouse classes.
Yeah. No, there's probably a lot of bad tape that got deleted. I really hope it got deleted. All right, that's our show. Appreciate you all for listening. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.